It's interesting that you say that, Mildred, because the problem that you mention is a problem that is typical and that exists in any large city.
That's very true.
And there are those who would have very little sympathy for the traffic problem in D.C. and say, well, if you're going to live in an area like D.C., then you're going to have to deal with the traffic problem. And it's just part of living in a big city. In your opinion, is there any justification to that? That it's just you have to accept the traffic as it is, as part of living in a big metropolitan area with dense population?
Well, the ideal would be that you do not have to deal with that traffic problem, no? And one possibility as a solution to that problem is that people choose to live closer to work. Now, the problem in cities like Washington, and I would say San Francisco, New York, is that the cost of living inside the city has become so high that it is the hassle and the problem and the challenges of moving every day from the outskirts into the city are compensated by the resources that are also outside the city. The other possibility is to create better and more means of public transportation. I think that the metro system of Washington, D.C. is really good, but it goes only to some places. No? And so there are many other areas and not far enough out of the city. So there are many areas that people are forced into using the car because they don't have the possibility of using public transportation.
Mildred, that brings up a whole other issue, actually, and it's the idea of mass transportation in the United States. In the very big American cities, we see a lot of people who do avail themselves of subway systems, etc. But in other parts of the country, we can take the whole West Coast, the state of California, for example, mass transit systems, even if they're in place, don't really seem to attract a great number of users. Why do you think that the Americans in general are kind of hesitant to use mass transportation systems?
Well, I think that there are two elements there. One is the culture of individuality, where most people live thinking that they are an individual unit separate from the rest. And as a consequence, they want to have their own house, their own car, their own, everything has to be individualized. And in fact, as a consequence, there's a lot of people that do not like to be in lines, that are bothered by all those situations that force them to be with others, because they are very interested on individualized attention and individualized services, individualized everything. So I think that that's one thing, that people want to be able to listen to their own music in their own comfort, on their own, with all that space available to them. The other is the mystique around having a car. And it's very interesting, I think that in the United States, it is as obligatory. It's an expectation of every person to have a car and to own a house. And even though today people are coming to the realization that having a house is not as easy and it's not as accessible, the idea of having a car is the one that substitutes that. Now, if you do not have a house, you still can have a car. And even when the price of cars has gone up to the point that now a car costs what a house used to cost, people are still, once you are 16, the next thing to do is to own your own car.
Right. And Mildred, that's an interesting observation. And I guess it begs another question, and that is, what could we do in the United States to encourage more people to use mass transportation more often? What kinds of measures could be taken?
Well, I think that in one hand, we should appeal to the sense of community and the sense of responsibility, social responsibility that we as citizens of this country, we have, no? That we should contribute to the wealth of the country and the development of the country by being more conservative in the expenditures, especially around energy. So if we could develop a higher sense of responsibility in that area, and also if we could facilitate the culture of the metro, the culture of the bus, so that people would not see that as a hassle and as a complication. Personally, I have seen that the metro has facilitated a lot of things.
Well,